Hi everyone, and welcome to my podcast today. I'm really excited to have an industry expert, Dominik Muggli, from his company Tansfom. And it's all about digital transformation. Technology is really changing the way manufacturing, all of their paper processes, their process controls or integrations. Automation is moving quickly, and today I'm thrilled to be interviewing Dominik. So Dominik, why don't you do a quick introduction and then we'll get started.
Yeah, Eileen, thank you so much for having me today. Looking forward to the discussion and how I can maybe bring some insights into the topics of digital transformation, whether it relates to manufacturing or other industries as well. Yeah, so my name is Dominik Muggli. I have much experience in pharmaceutical and biotech environments, working with technology and transforming organizations. And earlier this year, I started a new venture providing consulting services, advisory services to businesses that want to go a little bit faster and maybe a little bit more streamlined with their digital transformation and grow a little bit faster and be a little bit more competitive, perhaps, in the environment.
Exactly. And, before we get started to talk about, digital transformation, I always like to make this a conversation, just really a story to get to know you. I always ask, people to reflect on their experience. I know you've seen a lot of changes within the industry in the last number of years, especially with AI, but really, could you reflect on your experience a little bit? Like, what are some of your most memorable moments or projects, that you've worked on in your career?
Yeah, my career really had kind of an organic path, right? So I started out, I mean, I got an undergrad in computer science. I was geeked out about technology, building technology, and really help make things better, improving the way that people can interact with this beautiful technology that we have in computers. And I started out with a biotech company as a software developer, developing quite complex internal enterprise applications, and so that was like, that's what I thought was my path was going to be early on. But then I was tapped for projects in IT infrastructure. It's like, hey, Dominik, can you go help out? We need some, we need to work on some things and make sure that we can streamline some IT infrastructure projects. So I was like, okay, sounds good. No experience in that. Ventured into that space. And then we did a family relocation. I was able to stay with the company I was working at, moved to a different location, and took on implementation and support of business systems, right? So then I got into business applications. And that location was then acquired by another company, and I was part of a group that was integrating that entire business into the new business, right? So then it became higher level projects, working with consultants and so forth. And after that, that's when I started getting into leadership roles as well, right? So I was responsible for process automation topics, and then later again for larger projects and an entire digital transformation function that I was able to build from scratch. And
Nice.
then ultimately was able to implement quite a bit of technology, fix a lot of life cycle management topics, and really make a robust digital program that then stabilized and enabled a lot of the business.
Yeah, within pharma industry, there's so much focus, on patients, right? Isn't that what we're really go to work every day for? It's really the patient at the end of, the pharmaceutical manufacturing. I know for me, I just always think about that in my daily work, is that everything I do, there's a patient, right? And I know that you've seen a lot of changes during your tenure. What do you think some of the biggest challenges are with, say, software and automating manufacturing?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. What I must say in terms of, going back to your comment about the patient being first. that was really a constant for me and my experience from day one through this entire time. And you're absolutely right. I think myself and most other people in the industry have that as their corner piece, their reason of being, right? And I always thought to myself, and I also told my colleagues, I'm not a researcher, I'm not a biologist, I'm not an expert in any of the sciences, but with my experience in digital technology systems and software, I can provide my little bit of contribution, right? To bring efficiency, to increase compliance, and bring robustness into businesses. And so I always felt like that's the piece, where I can contribute to that angle. Now, if you say that, hey, how have things changed? And it's kind of funny perhaps, but regulation has had a big hand in driving changes that came about, right? Because on the one side, yes, there's a business that's looking to, ensure that there's good investments and that there's good returns on the investments that you make.
Mhm.
But alongside the increase in regulatory requirements and the stringency around that, what happened then was not, I mean, it was on the technology front, but what I saw is this build up in quality assurance and quality control activities, right? Where organizations that are in the quality and regulatory space have grown significantly, right? Whereas maybe the technical disciplines have not grown so much. So the burden of compliance, if you will, has grown a lot, which then took a little bit of a toll on the technology. But I always thought, given the need to remain compliant and ultimately put out a product that can help somebody get better instead of making them sick due to product quality issues. I mean, it's the right thing to do. But with this compliance environment, it put a lot of burden on the front, again, on technology and innovation and change. It really kind of bogged down the ability to go faster. And I see that as a huge opportunity for the industry as a whole, right? To remain compliant and to surpass the regulatory compliance with better solutions. And I think that's where the holy grail is at, to be able to find solutions that can aid in such a manner.
Exactly. Well, today's podcast, Dominic, is really about digital transformation. And, my audience, I'm hoping that there'll be a lot of pharma executives, companies, manufacturing companies that haven't taken that step yet to automate their processes and get
Mhm.
rid of all the paper and be more compliant. So I'm going to focus a little bit more now about digital transformation. And in your own words, for those that may not be familiar with a digital transformation, because it's a very broad term, can
Right.
you give us some insight as to what exactly digital transformation means for pharma manufacturing?
What a beautiful question. And and I think it's exactly like you said, it's interpreted in so many ways, right? And the unfortunate thing is that the term is used by a lot of solution vendors
Hmm.
as a means to say, hey, if you just implement our technology, you'll enable your digital transformation, right? It almost seems to the outsider as if in like, there's just one last thing, that one last solution I need to implement, and I'm going to be done, right? That's how it's that's how I've always felt it being portrayed, and that's how it's also being perceived, I think, in by many organizations. What I look at when I say in terms of digital transformation is not so much pursuing a specific technology or implementing a specific project. I really What I want to do with Tansfom and helping my customers is really taking a step back and looking to see if we can set the objective for organizational change, towards digital transformation. Now you say, what does that mean? I think the goal really should be that an organization should work towards getting really, really good at implementing and supporting technology. And why is that the case? Because if you can do that efficiently, repeatedly, and compliantly, you basically are not exposed to a single piece of technology anymore that you may be stuck with for years and years, right? Because you say, hey, we've implemented a piece of technology, we worked with it for 6 months or a year, and it's not working out. It won't be the end of the world anymore, right? You just say, you know what? That was a bad choice. It didn't meet our expectations. We found a better product along the way, or we have a better solution. We go and implement that quickly, get on the road. But that's why I always go back to the organization's ability to be flexible, to adapt, to change on a regular basis. And to me, the digital transformation is that skill that an organization needs to have to roll with that, right? To continuously change and be able to adapt and not being locked into a single vendor for a decade, you know?
Yeah, I mean that, every time I talk with, manufacturing executives, especially CFOs and maybe, executive VPs, it's always that same, that same thing that's always there, is that they're falling behind, or there's that competitive, edge. If only we could get to say this type of technology. And I really like your approach where, you're taking a step back. I think most pharmaceutical, companies, especially in the mid-market space and even on the legacy side, they really do need to take a step back. And, that's why I'm so excited about having this conversation today. You as a trusted advisor with Tansfom, I just love it, because any pharmaceutical company or GMP regulated company that wants to, move into that digital transformation really does need an advisor. So that motivation for change, right? What inspired you to start Tansfom, and what gap in the market did you see that prompted this venture?
Yeah. So I left my recent role earlier this year, right? And I took some time off for reflection, learning, spent some time volunteering, and also catching up a little bit on family time. And when I started going back into the job market and started talking to some companies that were looking for roles that I would typically pursue, I I found this pattern of in my mind somewhat of a siloed view, right? There were people being sought to hire such narrow uh, to solve such narrow problems that an organization was facing. And I just thought to myself, wait a minute, why isn't this role covering more ground, even though it perhaps reported to the chief operating officer or even the CEO? Right? There's a very narrow focus, and I realized that maybe the experience of understanding the broader picture of the opportunities does not exist, right? Because I've been doing this for 20 years. I've seen the spectrum, and if you haven't seen that, or you're looking at just a very focused area or an application, it's maybe you're missing out on some of the opportunities. And then it really led to, you know what, let me go ahead and see if I can help more organizations from a higher strategic level to say, you know what, let's take a look at what you have going on. Where are your pain points? And expand that view to the entire spectrum of possibilities that the organization has. And once that's understood, you can then go back again and say, hey, let's make a deliberate choice that we're taking on this project or that project, right? This is not something that takes a lot of time to do, but if you don't consider all aspects up front, you're losing out on potential security topics, compliance topics, operational topics, right? Which are inherent in the discussion usually. And that's why I thought, hey, I want to see if I can help more people get this bigger picture into play and then focus really into the execution and doing that efficiently and grow
Right.
their organization accordingly.
Yeah, I really, really think it's unique. What do you believe are the most common challenges pharma manufacturing organizations face during a digital transformation?
Yeah, it's maybe also another a little bit of a step back topic, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no.
In pharmaceutical operations, what I found is that there's almost a community spirit in terms of how organizations go about solving their problems. So
Mhm.
if I haven't been at all companies, but I'll make a claim here. I'd say if you go to 5 companies or pick 10 companies, you go look at how they operate and how they run their business, you probably find a very close to identical approach to solving things. And why I think that is happening, it's because the industry is very tightly knit
Mhm.
and very specific and requires very specialized skills. And so what happens is when you hire people into an organization, you basically hire people with experience that you need, right? It's usually not a common approach to hire somebody from a different industry or unfamiliar with the environment, right? Because the thought process is usually, oh my goodness, it takes so long to get up to speed and train them and compliance factors and operating equipment. So what happens then? You have this kind of like moving population within the industry where everybody brings their experiences to the next place of work, which then results in all these companies ending up looking very similarly, right? And then while that is very efficient from a hiring perspective, I think it stifles innovation and change rather than saying, you know what, we'll hire somebody from over there because they have no clue about what we're doing. They may be the expert in their field. Let them bring them in here and look at what we're doing and say like, why are you guys doing it like that? Isn't there a better way? You know? And I think there's a missed opportunity to some extent, where you could almost break that cycle a little bit more, bring in outside perspectives, and because there's a lot of smart people all over the world in all kinds of industries, and have them take a look at what's going on, right, in this complex environment and get a new set of eyes on, and perhaps there are some things that could be learned from elsewhere.
Those are good insights. Dominik, can you share an example of a successful digital transformation initiative you were involved in and what made it successful?
Okay, which to pick?
Huh.
I've yeah, I've been involved in
That's
more. I
good.
was like looking back a little bit, like, oh my God, it's like way more than 100 projects that I've ever been involved in. But I've always found joy in optimizing processes and eliminating manual work.
Hmm.
And there's one I should say a super simple project that I was involved in that I had a team working on, and it involved eliminating paper forms that were used for tracking training records.
Okay.
Right? Training, tracking, and adherence is a very, very important topic in a regulated environment. And the company had a process where people filled out forms manually, paper, filled out, print, sign, sometimes scan and email for recording. And while naturally, yes, that's compliant, it's good documentation practices, no issues with that. It takes a lot of effort to manage that and file the paper and deal with it. And lo and behold, if something gets lost along the way, right? And so we undertook a project which was just building a SharePoint workflow
Hmm.
to set up a form that had the same information as the paper. It went through the necessary reviews, whether it be the manager or a quality person, and it then got sent to the administrating team that could make the necessary modifications in the learning management system. And again, I think, while I've worked on multi-million-dollar projects as well, I think this is the kind of stuff that can help an organization sometimes even more than these behemoth projects
Yeah.
with a lot of change, with dozens of people, and again, millions of dollars for, you know, a year, 2 years. And I think embracing that change and calling out these situations like, wait, we're generating thousands of pieces of paper every year. This doesn't make any sense. And to, with a simple solution, to implement the way to remedy that, I think those are the types of ways that can help bring a business forward, doing those types of things much more frequently that they may have been done in the past.
Yeah, I mean, when I talk with customers, some of the trends that I've been seeing, especially over the last maybe 18 months, 2 years, is that, they're not really going after those big legacy software systems, like you just said, right? They want to start with one thing.
Yeah.
And that one thing, like you just mentioned, could be that digital work instruction. It gets them started. They feel comfortable about it, and cost, everyone is under
Right.
cost pressures today. So
Right.
I really agree with you. I've talked with hundreds of customers that are just at that place where they want that automation, they want that software, but they don't want that big legacy system. So
Mhm.
those are good points. Being in sales, one of the things I've always tried to do when I'm doing a discovery, or when I'm, doing some tech analysis with a manufacturing champion or decision maker, is I try to align, their needs and wants. What is it they want to do? And, when I get over then to the engineering team, one of the things that, it's a little sticky is that alignment. So when I looked at your website, I think you've got a really nice, pitch deck and a really nice plan to do that alignment. And, my next question for you is, how do you ensure that digital transformation does align, with the needs and expectations of the customer, from an engineering point of view?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I think there's this is part of the opportunity I think that exists, and the somewhat of a gap that I'm looking to fill. You know, one of the things that I'm offering is an executive advisor service. Not
Mhm.
to be sales pitchy here, but the reason for that is again going back to my own experience, where you have executives, right, that are responsible for a business area, and I always thought of it like, you know, they have other fish to fry than dealing with my details,
Right.
right? So my view on my role was always like, hey, how can I help simplify their day, right? Take away the complexity, explaining technology solutions, opportunities in a way that jives with their understanding, right? Because I always felt like, you know what, let's not turn the CEO or the CEO into technologists. I never thought that was necessary. But I would say that they need to have enough wherewithal of information technology topics that they can end up with good and confident decisions. And so there's a fine line again, right, between this complexity of running a whole IT department with everything that goes behind it, and being able to explain that in a digestible way to an executive that has a head this big and a million topics to deal with, but to have a valuable enough and condensed enough message that's accurate and complete and understandable. I think it's a really, really big deal, because if you can do that, you can then translate that also into business objectives. And that will, to me, then bring the connection to the business with the technology, not because we want to do cool stuff because we're technology geeks, but we want to do cool stuff because it helps the business. And I think that's the approach that I've seen work best, right? To simplify that, to explain it in a way that doesn't take forever and can be understood.
Yeah, I really like it. Today, there's so much noise out there. You really have
Exactly.
to be
Yeah.
clear, right? And I love
Yes.
your explanation about that customer focus. Let's talk about implementation strategy. I know there are manufacturing executives that they get a little skittish, right, with implementation. Maybe they had projects they did and they didn't turn out so well. So I'm
Right.
interested to know, like, what approach would you recommend, say, for a manufacturing company in the mid-market space
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
needs, a digital transformation?
Yeah, the core piece of it all is really the technical ability, right? I mean, you can talk all about people and strategies and so forth, right? What really comes down to at the bottom of it, you have to have people that know the tech, right? They need to know what's going on and they need to be able to make good decisions. But the next level up, which again, then we're getting a little bit into the opportunity area, right? So you have your technologists that are super good at what they're doing. And on the other side, you have the business vision and the strategy about what needs to be achieved. And now, how do you go about this delivery approach, right? And that's where I've always seen a bit of a disconnect,
Hmm.
right? This making it happen, this delivery. How would you get from this idea or this beautiful solution that you've just purchased to getting that on the ground and get it useful to people to use, right? Because again, this is the ultimate goal is to bring some value and have a useful solution that your internal or external customers can then use. And and I found that uh, the what really has to happen in an organization is create an environment where this teamwork and this collaboration can take place. What can get in the way is silo behavior, right? Hey, I got my priorities from over there, and I don't have time for the project.
Mhm.
Or hey, we have different opinions about what should be done this way or that way, right? So all these hurdles and roadblocks that we know that can happen in projects, those really need to be the focus on the execution side of things. And what I think works best um, is to really be inclusive of building these efforts, right? Getting people involved early from the sponsorship, being behind efforts that need to happen, and then getting a cross-functional team in place that has the ability to function on its own with a focus on delivery. And we don't have all the time in the world today, but there's some merits in agile execution that are really, really helpful.
Mhm.
But it comes with its own set of limiting factors. And there's an approach that I recommend to my clients also in the best way of getting into that mode of working iteratively with agile tools, not tools as in software tools, but tools as in techniques that can bridge that gap from a traditional kind of like, work, 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 poof, surprise at the end, to more insights along the way and managing that risk along the way, which is so critical to ultimate success.
Yeah, and as you were talking there, I was thinking about some conversations I just recently had. And AI, everybody wants the latest technology, and while that's
Yeah.
good, right? We want them to have the latest
Mhm.
technology. There's so many trends out there, technology trends. Which digital technologies do you think, will have the biggest impact on a business, say in the next few years? What would you say, to a customer?
Um, I would also get on the AI bandwagon for that matter.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying it because it's gonna fundamentally change how businesses work. But I think this is gonna be a step up enabler for work that has to be done, right? I'm not buying into the like, oh my God, the autonomous robots are going to be here next year and everybody can just be at the beach and, have all the things that we've ever dreamed of and just chase down our hobbies. I think that's not going to happen anytime soon, but what I think is going to happen is that as more organization and more people, especially, right, get familiar with these tools, even if it's writing a better email,
Mm.
right? Of course, that's just a very basic case, but there's a lot more opportunity where that goes, right? I mean, research is going to become a lot faster, right? Insights are going to become a lot faster. And, getting from the point of asking a question to getting a correct answer is going to become a lot faster. And so I think it's not a matter of doing the same thing with fewer people. I think it's doing a lot more with the people that you have,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because then it creates a whole host of opportunities where you can expand into new business areas and be more competitive. And I think that's where the opportunity lies with AI. This adoption of what's there rather than reinventing the wheel or competing with the solutions that are there. Just getting to the point of using what's being provided off the shelf even.
Yeah. When I talk with customers and do my discovery calls, one of the things they always ask me is, how do you measure success? They don't know what they don't know, so to speak, right? We're the
Yeah.
experts, we're selling the software every day, you're
Right.
implementing it, you're the advisor. But
Yeah.
really, for a brand new customer coming on a discovery, that's one of the key questions they want to know is really how do you measure success? And I'd love to have you expand a little bit on how do you define success for digital transformation initiatives, and what metrics would you use, say, to measure it?
Yeah, I think there's two different aspects, right? On the one side, you have this more of a micro view of, hey, let's pick a technology to meet a need that we have, or a technology that creates more opportunities for our business. And you assess the opportunity that you get from it, right? You have maybe a cost saving that it creates because you can do something more efficiently. Maybe you can increase revenues with a new technology because it creates a new offering to customer or enhancement of offerings to customers. So I think that's one side, right, where you look at it from an individual initiative standpoint to set up an assessment up front, execute and deliver that, and then measure whether you've met these objectives. Now, in terms of digital transformation, I'm reaching back to my earlier point. Uh, if you go and say digital transformation is the ability to rapidly adapt technological change, then it really becomes a measure of time, right? And what I want to enact and what I want to enable my customers is that turning these huge windows of projects, starting something, taking weeks, months, maybe years, and shrinking down that window of delivery time, right? Because if you can do that, like I said, your technology choice today is not as critical anymore as it was maybe 5 or 10 years ago, where you had to live with something for the next decade,
Hmm.
right? And that's, I think, to me, the holy grail, right? To really focus on that and measure, hey, we made a decision today to go with something new. How long is it going to be until I get value on the tail end of that? And my users can leverage that and the business can leverage that. And measuring that and demonstrating that that is happening, I think that's the ultimate objective.
Yeah, for sure. Measuring ROI too, return on investment.
Hmm.
It's always part of my sales
Yeah,
discussions, that value, right? Especially for CFOs, because they really have to justify the business case. There's so many projects
so it is.
competing
Yeah.
for budget dollars.
Hmm.
And, in order to win a project in manufacturing, you have to have the ROI, you have to show the value. So, all of those technology trends are so key and so important.
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
well,
Absolutely.
look, I love speaking with you today. I'd say to my audience, if you're looking to streamline your operations or you want to elevate customer experience, you want to foster a culture of innovation, let Dominik help you, right? Let Tansfom help you. Be your partner to transform, your business, for success. So, in closing, I'd like you to talk a little bit about how you help businesses navigate through digital transformations. And if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what would you say would be the best first steps?
Yeah. Yeah. So the offerings that I have is really accompanying an organization in the path towards digital transformation. This is and this ability to execute at a high level. And so my service offerings are from the executive advisors supporting executives in better understanding of where the organization is in conjunction with technology developments. I also help with strategic planning, right? Looking at organizations with their abilities, where they currently are, what business plans there are, and what technology in the periphery provides as possibilities, and developing plans that are suitable for the organization at any given point in time, and focus on the right areas to invest in. And lastly, it's the area of delivery, right? Really helping organizations building up their team. We can certainly also help with initiatives to help deliver effectively, but I think the value really resides in helping the organization, helping a team build skills, building confidence and the ability to deliver. Because once you can repeat that and be consistent and efficient that way, you have a huge gain and growth for the organization ahead. And the best way to reach us, we can include the link at the bottom of the podcast.
Yeah.
There's information about the services that we provide, and contact information, a form there. And of course, we're also on LinkedIn. You can contact me also directly for an informal conversation, have a discussion about what might be possible for your business, and then we'll see how to proceed from there.
Yeah, that sounds real good. I'll be putting a link at the bottom of this video.
Great.
And also please like and subscribe to the YouTube video. It just helps us spread the word. And for myself, Enterprise Grow, it's really about streamlining your marketing and sales solutions. If you want real buyers, real accounts delivered, please get in touch with me, and we'll deliver some predictable revenue results for you. Dominik, I want to thank you today for joining me on my podcast. I look forward to a future conversation with you. Maybe we can even do a live webinar at some point, or do a live YouTube where, our audience can come in and ask specific questions. That would be fun. So I look forward to that.
That sounds like fun indeed.
All right, my friend. Nice seeing you, and you take care.
Thank you so much for having me today, Eileen. Looking forward to connecting again and helping our customers with good solutions and better digital transformation.
That sounds real good. Bye-bye now.
Bye.